Welcome, everybody. Welcome. And thank you to Preach Bow for his so melodious sounds on the ivories. Welcome to episode 5 of our free virtual symposium, Good Deeds for Special Needs. I am Faith Evans Jordan. And I just want to, as I always do, take time out to thank everyone who has been streaming with us, everyone who has been emailing, texting, and giving their thumbs up of approval, although that wasn't my purpose, but I appreciate it. And to everyone who has gotten something from these series, tonight's topic is parenting and family supports to maintain healthy family systems as well as advocacy because they kind of go hand in hand because you sometimes do need or run into an advocate that can help you navigate those things. You do need them most of the time when it's not working out properly in terms of that thing. But we had so many topics to cover when I first said, hey, Malika, let's do this symposium series. And we kind of narrowed them down. And now that we've been doing them, I'm like, some of these things we can kind of combine. So I'm not going to talk too long because I do so much. I want to introduce Malika Mitchell, who has been my co-host on each of them. We partner on this series. Malika Mitchell, in case you don't know, has a master's in counseling with an emphasis in rehabilitation from Cal State University, LA. She has over 15 years of hands-on experience and has held a position as a lead teacher, therapist, supervisor, program developer, independent facilitator for self-determination, and consultant. She is proficient in working with children and adults diagnosed with developmental, emotional, and intellectual disabilities. Malika recently expanded her services and developed Malika and Associates LLC to provide multiple resources, services, and programs with an emphasis on person-centered planning. And that means a lot, in the world of me knowing her personally. I appreciate the fact that she can't always be available for people like me and her personal. She people really need a Malika in their lives or one person as such. So, ladies and gentlemen, Malika Mitchell.
Hello, everybody. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, and welcome for just coming and having a great time with us every episode. This is episode number 5. And guess what? We're talking about some cool things, parenting, advocacy, and really creating those systems that supports not only your child, but the family and the support system around them. So, welcome. Thank you for returning.
Well, Malika,
Yes.
before we go into our musical guest, actually, we did that before part already. I gave your credentials. Why don't you introduce our musical guest?
I will. Okay. So this is very exciting. We have Kira Sheard. Kelly is no stranger when it comes to breaking new grounds. After all, the young dynamo grew up with 2 gospel barrier breakers as role models. Mother Karen Clark Sheard, a member of the legendary group the Clark Sisters, and grandmother Clark, a matriarch, Dr. Maddie Moss Clark. Her father, Detroit native Bishop J. Drew Sheard, serves on the general board of the COGIC, which is Kojic. So everybody know how those Kojic churches go. Now, the Grammy and Stellar Award-winning artist is back with her first project in 5 years. Kira marks the singer-songwriter's first project with RCA Inspiration. Dropping April 17th, the highly anticipated album has already spun off the genre, blurring hits Don't Judge Me, featuring Missy Elliott, and It Keeps Happening. Sheard shaped her creative vision with frequent collaborators Harmony, H. Money Samuels, and her younger brother Jay Drew. Among other contributors on the creative team were songwriters Mia Fields, Very Wade, Edgar J.V. Etienne, Justin Brooks, and rising Chicago artist Sir the Baptist. In addition to Elliott, the album's guest list includes Todd Dulaney, Tasha Cobbs Leonard, Leandria Johnson, and Shear's nephew, Jacob Shear. That same spirit underscores her biggest acting role to date, playing her mother, Karen Clark Sheard, in the Lifetime biopic The Clark Sisters, the first ladies of gospel.
Hey, I would love for her to say introducing, but Kiera, let me just say, I appreciate what she brings to. I was a fan of the Clark sisters since I was that young. And I used to, my daughter China used to say, I used to play this thing where Kiki and her mom used to sing. Her mom used to give her the mic and she'd repeat her. China said, "Don't ever do that to me." But listen, I've told you this all the time, Kiki. I appreciate you. She brings this whole raw, new generation thing, but yet traditional, yet Clark sisters, yet Kiera.
Nice.
So, ladies and
Nice.
gentlemen, please give it up. And I thank you so much for doing this for me, Key. Give it up for the incomparable Kiera Shear Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel it in this room. Holy Spirit, move. 'Cause when you have your way, something has to break. Tear down every lie. Set the wrong thing right. 'Cause when you have your way, something has to break. Something has to break. Hey. Right now in your name, something has to break. Something has to break. Right now in your name, something has to break. Oh, I believe you'll lead me to it. I believe you'll get me through it. I believe that you will do it right now. Something has to break. It's breaking. And I come against every suggestion from the enemy to make you or have you believe otherwise. You got to speak it and use your authority. Come against any imprisonment that may be over your mind or your life and just start declaring that it is breaking. It's breaking. Ah, sing it with me. It's breaking. You should feel your strength coming. It's breaking. Yeah. Hey. I believe. I believe it in my heart. I believe it in my mind. We serve a faithful God. Surely He's pushing back darkness. Yeah. I believe. I believe. What a wonderful God we worship. We honor you, Jesus. You're the Lion of Judah, the King of Kings. Everything I need, you hold all power in your hands. Yes, you do. I dare you to lift your hands and receive it. Something has to break. Yeah! Yeah! Something has to break. You are our strength. You are our guidance. God is pushing it back. Whatever it is you've been praying for, something has to break. Miracle signs and wonders. Miracle signs and wonders. Yeah. Something has to break. I speak healing over your body. I speak healing over your mind. Whatever it is you need. I speak peace in your home. I speak strength to your body. I speak passion in your home. Yeah. Something has to break. Hey. Something has to break. It's breaking right now.
Wow. The hairs is standing up on my arms. I think we got a feedback. Man, Kiki, thank you so much. You are just so powerful. Your ministry is so great, and we can't thank you enough for loaning us your gift for the support of what we're doing. I know everybody enjoyed it, probably even more so than I did, because I'm over here looking at notes and I had to just look away and just do like this and rock away. Like, thank you, Jesus. Man. Oh man. But once again, welcome back to Good Deeds for Special Needs. This is our free virtual symposium, and tonight's episode, which is number 5, the topic is parenting and family supports to maintain healthy family systems and advocacy. And I'm going to give it back to Malika because, as I always say every time, I'm no expert. I'm still learning. A lot of people are, but nonetheless, I mean, when we cut down the topics, I'm like, yeah, these things play a part in my life, but I wouldn't necessarily think to make this a topic unless you reminded me, like, well, yeah, I'm dealing with that shit. I'm sorry. Oh, I got to stop at the party mouth. Let me give it to Malika. Y'all give it up for Malika.
Welcome, everybody. Well, this is the most exciting thing because this offers us an opportunity for empowerment and enlightenment. And so this topic is just a direct reflection of what we need to do in order to see the growth and the communication in our community. So families want the best for their children. They want to nurture them. They want their children to grow. But when you start to think about family with special needs, sometimes they face additional challenges, including great stress and social inclusion, and sometimes even a financial strain. So what I wanted to do today is to be able to enlighten everybody, empower everyone to say that when it comes to parenting, when it comes to family supports and maintaining a healthy system and advocating for your children, there are some pointers that I would like to share with you. Number 1, you are not alone. Now, there may not be anyone else that may be dealing with some of the same situations as you and your child, but trust, they are similar. And sometimes you find those people that understand things that don't understand. But know that there are always somebody out there that sees it just like you see it. Now, you'll make wonderful friends in these parent groups. Sometimes there's small organizations that just when you need somebody to talk to, you can tap in, give them a call, you can ask questions, and that always will make you feel better. Number two, remember you too deserve to care for yourself. Parents are sometimes placed in situations where they're always having to care for others. But I ask you, care for yourself. Whatever makes you feel special, take care of yourself. Take the time to enjoy just that. Most important, you're not perfect. And that's okay. That's okay. No one is perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. We can wallow and we can go back and forth with our mistakes and try to feel bad about ourselves. But guess what? Maybe, just maybe, that kid is just looking at you and they're like, look, that mistake is not even the same. So it's best for us to all embrace each other and not look at those mistakes, but look at how we can empower one another. When I think about that, sometimes I always want to tell parents that you are the superhero. You are the person that your child is looking at and saying, you are so amazing. You make things happen for your child. You stretch and you're staying up all night. You're dealing with tantrums. You're taking on meltdowns and you're doing what everybody knows nothing about. You are the superhero. Please know that you can be empowered here. This is how you create systems. When you realize that you are the superhero, then you're able to create the Y team that allows you to know that you have other superheroes around you. Parents, therapy is play. Therapy is play. Having sat in several sessions for myself, I've been frustrated. I know you've been frustrated. I'm one of those people that love the kids that I work with. I sit down and I create things with not only the child that I'm working with, but also the family. So a lot of times when you see these situations and you create these therapy opportunities to play with children, you want to have fun. You want to create opportunities where this child is really excited when they see, oh, this person is coming into the door. And especially me being a person that's a service provider, I don't just walk into people's home and I'll just walk in and say hi. I walk in and I'm connecting as if I am a family member, and I'm walking in understanding that I am now putting myself on the line to say that I want this individual to trust me. And I want them to trust that whatever I'm offering them is a learning opportunity. So I encourage parents to do the same thing.
That their parents trust because you're in my home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when you have individuals like myself that come into a home, like Faith just mentioned. We have so many opportunities to really create a trusting and meaningful relationship. And when you create these meaningful relationships, you're also offering parents a level of hope, joy, and understanding. And that's why I wanted to be able to look at our empowering moments today. Play is therapy. Again, sometimes, like a lot of times when parents are given information and they say, oh, my kid can't go to this therapy anymore, or my kid is not able to go to this program anymore. Sometimes your spirits fall down, and that's okay. But the best thing about it is whatever you learned in those sessions, you're able to take that with you and offer that to your child in their growth, in the family situations. Make time to enjoy your children. We know super parents tend to be fairly busy and often overscheduled. However, while everything on your calendar is important, it is also important to make time to play. It's also important to make time to laugh. It's important to make time to be silly with your kids. It's important to make time to read with them and snuggle with them and love on them, and to create those memories that are outside of therapeutic walls, that are outside of just learning. Really create fun times with your children. I know this is a lot, guys, but this is what it's about. Really empowering one another and not looking at what's wrong, but looking at how we can make things right. Now, you won't always get it right, though. It's not one of those situations where you're going to always make the right decision, but be okay with that. Be okay with that. It's not until you make the wrong decisions that you decide what you really, truly want, not only for yourself, but for your child and for your family. So it's okay. You will do your best and you won't always do it right. And you may have some sleepless nights, but sitting down and dealing with yourself back and forth, it won't make the situation no better. So love on yourself, love on your kid, love on your family. It's not always about being right. Forgive yourself in that. When you make wrong decisions, forgive yourself. Yeah, you're going to screw up. You're going to do things that sometimes that may not be the very best of your intention, but that's okay. That's okay. Remember, many of the toughest decisions have no right answer. That's what I mean by that. That you may screw up sometimes.
Okay.
And you may make the wrong decisions. But like I said, forgive yourself.
Right.
Trust yourself. Know that sometimes you're not going to make the right decision.
When you're coming from the right place,
Yeah.
you can't go wrong.
Absolutely.
I say it all the time.
That's what I mean by it. If you
Right.
set your intention.
You thought that was the right thing to do.
Yes.
You tried it,
Mm-hmm.
but now you
Yeah.
can't abide it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And you can't keep going with
Right.
it. So I think that's important to just know how to forgive yourself, love yourself.
Right.
I know being a parent is hard. I'm not a parent. I do have a little bitty doggy, but I'm not a parent. Parent to a child is hard. And a parent to a child with a special need is even harder. It's extra harder. It takes you to be extra passionate. It takes you to be extra patient.
Yes.
It takes you to be a
Extra
extra
understanding.
understander. I mean, a good listener, being able to really take your time and process what's really going on. And sometimes you have to search your heart for the rewards. Sometimes I had to look down real quick because I had to remember that. Is that you have to search within to give yourself the rewards that are valuable to you and your family. Not outside of you, not the people on the outside of your home, but looking at your child and understanding that the reward is looking at your child and knowing that the best efforts are put right there. Sometimes parenting a child with special needs is a marathon. For those folks who are trying to run that marathon, there are no breaks. You got to keep going. So you have to keep really pushing forward. So I won't really push you guys anymore, but know that you don't have to be that parent. You don't have to be the one who clearly spent 10 hours creating an amazing snack shaped like an animal or different things. You don't have to be the one that's always putting the notes in the lunch box, but you do have to be the one that's loving. You do have to be the one that's present. You do have to be the one that's very important, that you know your child, know the needs of your child, know the things that your child will really be happy having. Know the quality of life that your child is really reaching for and how you can best support your child. What makes your child happy? How do you love on your child? What are some of the cool clothes that your child likes to wear? How do you style your child up to make them feel good and to create that autonomy? But know that you are that parent for your child. You may not be that parent for other people, but you're definitely that parent for your child. Make time, parents, for your marriage. Make time for your relationships. You have to make sure that even though this child may need all your special attention, make time for your marriage. Marriage is hard work, period.
Girl, I was about to interject. Girl, I'm going to let you finish.
Parenting is hard work. Parenting is hard work, period. And parenting with a special needs child is even harder. Mm-hmm. For those who are married and those that are in relationships, make time for your relationship. Move time away from your child to be able to go out and continue to date your husband or your wife. Make time for your friendships, even if it's an opportunity for your friends to maybe bring over a meal once a week to where you guys sit down and have talk time. But always do things to make you feel special and rewarding. And last but not least, trust your instincts. Know your child best. Doctors, teachers, therapists, service providers, they may all come in and they have all these notes and these ideas about what they think that your child can do, what they think that your child is capable of doing, but you are the one that knows best what your child can do, what your child is capable of, and by all means, what do you want to see that your child is able to do? You are the one. So trust your instinct. Don't be afraid to fight for your child. Don't be afraid to fight for yourself. Know that there's things out there that you may not know about. You have to stand up for yourself. While the professional and experts are good, make sure that you are the expert for your child. Love your child. And most importantly, I'm going to end it by saying, like I always say in every episode that you guys have watched, please know your children. Get to know the needs of your child. Know how your child can create the quality of life that they deserve. And I say thank you.
You
Thank you.
can create it for them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can't do it for themselves. That's where advocacy comes in. However, thank you, Malika. And wait. Where you going?
Oh, I thought you asked me to
Where
move.
you going? No, because you made some things, and I'm like, you got all these notes, and I did not want to say something, but I wanted to say something. But I think this topic also lends itself to the fact
Sorry,
that,
thank you.
in terms statistically, you know, I don't know what it is now in 2020, 2021, but most of the times, like, um, at least with the quote unquote autism spectrum ratios with the marriages, they say typically, like, a lot of times it that doesn't work out,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know if I think that applies to, I would assume, special needs, period, because there are a lot of people that have special needs that require more things than even, someone being on the
Yeah.
worst end of the or the more, the higher end of the autism
Yeah.
spectrum. So,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that have hit me up have kind of commented on that thing, and it's so personal and maybe a little sensitive to talk about.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Because I wanted to chime in
Absolutely.
a few times when you were talking, and I'm like, well, what about if this, and you were speaking more from a, it should be, and that would be great if it was that
Yeah.
way. But
Yeah.
I want to speak from, especially in our um culture,
Yeah.
in the um
The black and brown community.
hello, that part right
In the
there,
black and brown community.
minority
Absolutely.
communities,
Mm-hmm.
I would say. I mean, there's divorce,
Demographic stuff
people,
play a big
break
part.
up every day. People divorce
Yeah.
every day, but I think it's more prevalent. First of all, it's more prevalent in our communities for it to be a single parent
Mm-hmm.
household.
Right.
I'm
Right.
sure it's probably worse today. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm a little old
Yeah.
now, but
No,
last
not at
time I
all.
checked, last time that I checked, I ain't that old. Anyway, I'm just saying, I wanted to kind of speak to that a little bit, but
Okay.
we have so many questions, and because you were making a lot of great points, I didn't even get to look at the message board as much as I usually do.
Okay.
And how much time do we have? Because I really wanted to go to it. We got some time? Okay, cool. So let's see. Hey, Pee Wee. Hey, cousin Monica. I'm glad that my family and friends and my
Oh my
faithfuls,
goodness.
and
Are
there's a lot of
so
people who have
present.
been chiming in, and we've made some connections with people that actually want to really help start a movement of,
Right.
because there's a lot of people out there that just deal with what they have to deal with. I mean,
Yeah.
and that I've myself included, I'm gonna
Yeah.
deal with it, I'm gonna figure it out on my own. But then I realized I am at home. I'm not on the road. So let me act. This is really what I'm doing. So why not make this
Sure.
what I'm gonna make my time out to do?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So again, shout out to Brad Beckerman, who's our new friend we spoke to last week, and the guys who run Bump Box and Little C's, because we got a connection. There's a lot of people out there that have kids, whether they have recently been diagnosed or were misdiagnosed or older or younger, that have kids with special needs, and you may not know about it because, not so much that that's a bad thing, but when you find out, I'm like, oh my God, let's connect. And they may be like, hey, let's connect,
Yeah.
because I see you guys doing this. So I thank God for the fact that the ability to even do this, in my home and with the people that I feel comfortable with that want to support the same cause. What she said, all okay. Wow, I gotta go back because there's so many things on here.
Really.
You gotta keep time for me because I'm gonna be talking too much. Hey, Miss Jenny, I see you. I want to get to the questions. Hey, Teresa, sister-in-law. Okay, we going back to the performance. Kiki did her thing. She sure did. Okay. Okay. Tiana Lee. She's on Facebook. Along with my royal Okay, sorry. I posted in my profile pic. He's 5 years old, ASD and nonverbal. I didn't know we had this in common. Oh, great platform. I thought she had a question. Um, I can't quite understand. I think maybe because my phone does that too. It leaves out,
Mhm.
consonants and synonyms sometimes. But thank you, Tiana Lee, because I thought it was a question mark in there somewhere. I'm trying to, do my best to respond to things that I see that are questions we can answer, but obviously we could never do that in
Yeah.
one sitting. But you guys can always hit up the people that are our guests. Their websites are always listed on writersroominc.org. And they will gladly, I know Malika, Dr. Behave, they've all been happy to answer any questions. Um, I see a lot of comments though. Comments, no questions. Maybe there are. Maybe y'all ain't up to date on here. Oh, I'm not up to date because there are more. Um, Thank you, Dana Somerville, Ebony Green. I, oh, someone said, oh, she's been on Yvonne Berry on YouTube. She said, very true. My son is on the autism spectrum and my daughter is intellectually disabled. So yes, it's what? Oh, there's no break, but it's rewarding.
Yes.
That's what she's saying. And I totally get it because you know what? Shoot, actually today I've been proud that I made 3 actual appointments, and I'm usually at home, even though I'm at home most of the time, handling I keep up with my own publishing. I do this, I do, I'm like really a self, hands-on type of person when it comes to my business stuff. So even though I might be at home, I might be wiping the walls and the counters, but when I'm on the computer, it's not just like, oh, I'm on Instagram or
Yeah.
I'm really like doing things. I keep up with my stuff. That's the only reason I'm able to be here at home. And not forced to be. I'm just saying I was doing this before COVID. I've been doing this. But nonetheless, it is very much it's a big job. I mean, you know that.
Mm-hmm. A full time.
And you're not a parent, but
Yeah.
I actually sometimes when you have to cancel, I'm like, oh my God, this is my time to oh my God, I gotta reschedule my and so all the parents
It's
out
such
there
a teamwork.
that
Why.
and what about the
It's
parents that
teamwork.
don't have that, that only
Right.
right now have this is our time on Zoom.
I think
for
that's
this,
what this episode is about.
about.
Is that even though you may not have a person that is available to you as far as an advocate, or that potentially is a professional in the field of supporting individuals with special needs, it's important that we develop family relationships and meaningful relationships with our children and family members that are in their family. Because what a lot of times, because we get so busy and having to go to appointments and having to go places, a lot of times parents are saying they don't have time to spend the time with the parent and with other family members in order to establish those relationships. But I think what we need to focus on a little bit sometimes is creating the awareness in our families and in our communities, that we can allow the aunties and the uncles and the cousins and the family friends to also be a part of the development of these young people and their journey. And that's the beauty of why I took on a special interest in independent facilitator, because person-centered planning allows an approach to put together a team.
I gotta interject though.
Yeah, a team.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
I always
please do.
That's why they like me.
Please do.
Oh, I think they like me.
Yes,
I think they like me.
Please do.
Listen, because okay, what if you're saying allow these people to, but they have to understand before you can
Understand what?
allow that.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah, I mean, I know you know. What if they don't understand what it is to, you can't just say, hey, I got a family member. Let them allow. No, they have to
Right.
understand the whole.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things. It's a lot of understanding that has to take place.
That's why I say awareness, because if we can offer family members
right, okay.
learning opportunities, whether that is sharing the accomplishments of the child, whether that is sharing with the meaning of that diagnosis. A lot of times, what I have found is that family is sometimes a little reluctant to supporting because they don't know. And if they was a little bit more aware of maybe the needs of that child, or maybe what that diagnosis entails or what it may look like, I think people maybe would be a little more involved.
I can agree, but I can
Maybe.
also have another
Opinion.
opinion on
Because
it
you live it.
because
You have to
I
live it.
have, okay, for example, if I don't have none of my immediate family is here in LA. I have like a cousin over there, but she got her own family, and she live on a whole different side of town. We don't see each other all the time, but
Right.
my immediate family is not here. Um, and so if something happens, Ryder has had little incidents over the years where but if they're not here living that, they think that okay, I'm gonna just keep it real.
Yeah.
One of my cousins told me that a family member thought that they should be concerned that my son might stab me in the middle of the night. Like,
Oh no.
because he had an incident where he
Yeah.
threw something and it cut a family. And I'm like, he didn't mean to cut them like that. He was just
Yeah.
throwing, he was having his, I didn't
Yeah.
explain it to that family, but it came back to me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
he was like, I had to tell them, like, nah, it's not even like that. Like, what do
Yeah.
you mean? Like,
Right.
they're worried about me more than,
Yes.
I mean, that's not to judge them, but thank you for worrying about me. But it's like, nah, I'm concerned about figuring out how to
Create
facilitate
safety for
things and
him.
create, right,
Yeah.
like I know how to boom, duck and block and
Right.
pound and pound
But
too.
you know what
Like,
though, Faith?
however, I get it, but
I
it's
was gonna
like,
say.
I was just saying, when you have that situation, you mean more in the immediate present sense of people that you
Well,
can,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
even I
And
think
they could be friends. It could be friends. It could be extended friends that are playing the role, even if you don't have family.
I mean,
that
I
is
hope I ain't
involved.
offend nobody by that, but it's the
Heck
truth. Is the
no,
truth,
that
boo.
is the truth.
I'm just
And
saying.
there's so many families that have to face just that.
Right.
Having individuals, because it's something to have a conversation about. It's a conversation to have. You say, okay, if an individual is engaging in some behaviors that may be a little uncomfortable, and you may not be aware of what that entails,
Or what?
that may
Why
be
they feel that
sensory,
way?
that they don't have
Right.
control over
Right.
it.
They don't.
It's not like the individual that may be
Oh,
in
I want to
prison
just
or
stab
something that
you,
just
and I
wants
want
to
to
do
just do
something.
this and cut
Right.
you.
But
Right.
it just takes, I think, a level of understanding that offers people that support to explain that. And if you are in a space to where you're supported as a parent, then you're able to explain why it's happening, what that looks like, and why maybe an individual with a different ability is experiencing that.
Hey, Corey Taylor, what's up, Mike Frame? Um, my auntie Pee Wee. Hey, Lucille Scantling Lion. She's a lion now. She said it's so important when there is support from family members, but oftentimes family may lack knowledge of what is going on with your child. Communication is the key.
Right.
Once you get an understanding of the child's diagnosis, you you test it differently.
Yeah.
Well, that's very true too. But like I think this comment came in before, we kind of had our last spill, but Essence, you're right. Essence Douglas, shout out to you on Facebook.
But I'm going to tap into
on YouTube. I'm still learning about things in life every day. Me too, girl.
Right.
And I mean, I'm a little, got a little more footing in it, but I'm learning all the time, which is why I felt the need to even present this information as, however it may come. I know sometimes we talk, we ramble, we try and do this and do that, but it's just information that I thought was important, and you thought, and everyone that has been a part of this has thought that was important for people to understand. And we always offer you guys the chance to reach everybody, directly with their websites. Anybody that's on here, you can look them up. And so far, they've been more than happy to answer questions or provide resources. We try to put them up on Writers Room Inc. Website as well. So nonetheless, hey Shanice, Hey,
I think family
Shanice.
is what most is most important, guys. I think what you should do
Treat them
definitely
differently, she
is
said.
create a page where you really get to know your child. Create small little things to where you can jot down notes and stuff that you can share with your family. That even like Faith said, if your family is not right there with you all the time,
Mhm.
you can definitely go ahead and send out, updates of what your child is up to, sending pictures, sharing the journey of your child so that your family is aware of some of the cool things that your child is up to and even some of those therapies, what they look like
Um, how much time we got?
with our chicken.
Oh, good. I thought we were behind. Uh, hold on, because there's some people on here saying things that have nothing to do with this topic, but nonetheless, uh, she said that is God talking. Uh, Shout out to Nikki. Irisa Nikki Leverett. She's on Facebook. She said a lot of family members don't understand. Some of them don't get it, and those are until that understanding is there, probably not the family members you want to
Yeah.
depend on in that sense. I mean, in the sense of thinking they'll understand.
Even though
Maybe
that's
they will
hard.
offer to, it's hard because
Yeah,
you
it's
might need
hard.
help. You might need somebody
Yeah.
to, hey, I watch,
That knows you.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least I think I could trust you because you're my
Right.
family. But,
Right.
I think, and I wouldn't say use, but okay, that's what it's good for. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
But sometimes even
But
that's
even then,
uncomfortable.
sometimes it might be, right. That's my next
A
point.
family member. Yeah.
It is difficult.
Yeah.
But I was trying to go back to the whole like family thing in the traditional sense of when it breaks it, when people tend to put it on the ratio scale of it breaks up families, and
Right.
it doesn't have to be that,
Yeah, it does
you
not
know.
have to be that. But what
But
ends up happening is the stress levels are just high from siblings. We're talking about siblings, from marriages to friendships. People, you don't know who your friend and family members truly are until you have a child with a special need. And I have seen so many parents that have said that, and that has been shared with me, that parents, things change so much when it comes to having to deal with maybe challenges or maybe different things with your child. So I think what's most important is just sharing the information that you have with your child, sharing your child's accomplishments, being able to share what your child is up to in their everyday. A lot of times when we have to keep that stuff, that information to ourselves, it's very hard because family members are people too.
are you
And
speaking of
sometimes can
this
be
in a
very,
just general family
mm-hmm,
sense or a
yeah,
relationship like marriage
family,
or
just in a general
oh,
family
okay,
sense.
okay.
Because when you talk about marriage, I think that's a whole
That's
different
a
conversation.
whole nother thing.
Woo!
But it kind
That
of falls in this, but yeah, it is.
I
It
think
does.
it's just I think
It
it's just a
delves
whole
off.
conversation because now you're talking about two people that are responsible for a situation as
Right.
far as being able to make decisions, supports,
And
and
that,
things of
yeah.
that nature. I think that's a different situation. But when we talk about family, we talk about like sisters and brothers and
But
cousins
that
and
still includes the
your partner.
husbands and others
Absolutely.
and
And yeah,
partners.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think
Because you make it
again,
sound so nice and easy.
it's not though.
Well,
It's
I mean, I
not.
know it's
Oh,
not. But I'm just
absolutely.
saying, I'm
Yeah, I
like, and
get it.
especially when you factor in the other part, it's like, can't,
No, not
sometimes it's really not easy.
just to try to create possibility in it. Not that it's easy, because I don't think any relationship, whether you have a child with a different ability or not, I don't think any relationship is really that easy to
Mhm.
have. However, it is a very special and unique situation when you do have a child with a different ability. And like Faith said, it's really not easy. And like she said, she walks this journey and understands this journey, that a lot of times that, yeah, people may say that they're there for you and they will support you in that as a family member, but they're not there at 2 o'clock in the morning when your child is waking up saying they need something to drink and can't go to sleep. They're not there when the school is calling and saying that there are some situations that needs to take place with your child, or making decisions for services and things. So I think what's most
Or
important
when
is
somebody
really
done
being
call
able,
defects, acting like you a
right,
bad parent.
right.
Well, not even that. I can't say they're not there. I don't even used to usually call people on that because I'm like, y'all get out of my face.
But it has become
But it
very
is
common.
very scary and weird.
Come on.
But I'm like, after the first time, I'm like, get out of my door. Bye.
But
Like,
some people, but Faith, that's you. I've had many
Like-
different individuals that when they are faced with social services or people
Right.
that are questioning their ability to be able to
Parent,
parent their
right.
child or to be able to support their
someone
child,
who doesn't
some
care
people
anything
don't
about
have,
my child.
yeah,
Really?
they don't have the means or the support to be able to get out
Or
of
even
that.
back to other topics, the understanding that you can
Absolutely.
say
You
this
can
and
say
stand
something.
up. Right.
Yes. Yes. And I
Mhm.
think that's what's most important is that when these situations come, being able to stand up for your family, being able to say, like you said, social services cannot come into your home, or being able to say,
can I come in?
no,
No,
you
you
can't.
can't.
No, you cannot.
No, boo.
Being able to say that
I'm not dressed.
my child has a ability. Absolutely. No, you cannot come into my home. And I think people, if you can start to really understand your rights and what you are allowed to do in this world, know that you are, again, the superhero for your child. So you can say what is okay and what is not okay. And that's what the biggest thing is, that people get an opinion just from looking from the outside, not understanding the walk that needs to take place. So, like they said, communication is the key. And if we can create an opportunity to be able to communicate our wants, to be able to communicate the needs of our children, then we'll be able to create the opportunities to have a team of creators, a team of leaders, and individuals being able to have the quality of life that they deserve with the support of individuals that love them. It's not that it can't happen. Yes, it can happen. Of course it can happen. You can have a cousin, you can have your mom's best friend, you can have a nephew, you can have a niece, but you can always have a great time.
Wow, I know we get so happy because I enjoy all of this, and I really ain't mad if we go over time, even though we have a schedule. It seems like people ain't mad either because everyone seems to be enjoying the conversation. Um, Chanel, someone. Oh, shout out to Toy Ray, TT Tuggles. She got many names. To Ray TT Tuggles Lewis. She's on Facebook. She said many families don't have a village, which is very true. And maybe you do. And hey, Dr. Zoe. Hey, Shanice. Okay, I'm not gonna even go back there again. I want to introduce Dolly
Dr.
because
Zoe.
Dolly Peterson, she's like a good friend, dear friend of mine who I met, like I've said on other episodes, when before Ryder was diagnosed, and I chose to just I think I need to put him in speech. I think I need to put him in, things that I was just trying on my own. I met her when Ryder was like 2.5 years old, and we've been friends ever since. And she's helped me quite a lot, in this journey as a parent of a child on the spectrum. Dolly is a wife and the mother of a special needs child with autism and other challenges. She earned her master's degree in entrepreneurship and finance from Loyola Marymount University, where she married her background in culinary arts and a commitment to social justice. When she's not catering for special needs organizations, she spent the last 12 years, 13 now, I think, advocating for her own child and educating herself concerning all matters related to disability rights, education, and protection under the ADA. She now dedicates her time to assisting others, like me, with IEPs, legal issues in relation to special needs, and educational advocacy for marginalized communities. Y'all, welcome back, my friend, Dolly Peterson. Hey, Dolly.
Hi,
Everyone.
Dolly.
I'm so
Where you
happy
at?
to
Where
be
you at?
here.
Hey.
Hey.
Thank you for having me back.
Oh,
I
she got on
appreciate
red
it.
Yes,
lipstick.
we do.
Okay,
I put
Dolly,
on
listen.
lipstick just for you.
I'm not gonna talk anymore. I want you to just kind of jump in because although our conversations are all, from our own point of view and maybe covering different bases, there's so many bases to cover.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna say the ball is in your court because you know what we're talking about.
Thank you so much. First of all, I really appreciate being here, and I've been sitting here and enjoying this conversation. And obviously, I've been watching all of the episodes, and I'm so thankful, first and foremost, that you and Malika are using your platforms to give this most important information. And the way you just described me, I feel like, oh, do I know all that stuff? Because like everyone keeps saying, I'm still learning. I am not an expert by any means, but I'm an expert in my child. I was looking, so again, the topic today, we know we're talking about parental support systems, and I felt really touched and kind of bad. I wrote down some names of some people who look like they could definitely use some support. I think Tiana Lee was the one who said she's a single parent and has absolutely no family or support. What I would say to that is, if your partner, if the child's father is still in his life, I think it's so important that we keep in contact and keep on good terms, especially when you have a kid with special needs, because in order to be a good advocate, you guys really have to be on the same team. Another really important thing, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. There's just so much going on. There's so much to talk about, and we're in a pandemic.
Take your time. Take your time. You have key things to say.
Thank you, Malika.
Yes, please breathe in this moment. Breathe in this.
I'm going to take a sip of water.
Yeah, take a sip of water.
Oh my.
Well, I'll just share, my experience getting a support system, because I have to say it wasn't easy for me in the beginning. When my son was diagnosed, my husband and I were not living together. He was across the country, and I was basically a single parent, and it was very scary. Someone on here wrote that they haven't slept well in 16 years. And I can absolutely relate to that. It's really difficult, but you have to maintain your relationship any way that you can. I mean, for the betterment of the child, not saying to stay in a relationship that's not working, but
explican, por favor.
Don't stay in a relationship that you're miserable in. But if you can work things out, it's obviously going to be in the child's best interest to have two parents. And if you can't be together, at least be partners. So another thing that I really struggled with in the beginning, definitely, was depression. I mean, the whole thing was, it was devastating. I was depressed, and it took me some years to actually admit that I could probably use some professional help. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that you should never be ashamed to get help. And that, honestly, especially right now during this pandemic, where our kids aren't even, first of all, so many of us are struggling just to get our kids the basics and the things that they need to receive a free and appropriate public education, and to get services so they can thrive and become independent adults. But you throw a pandemic on top of it, and it's even more difficult. And we're all struggling, being stuck at home. And so I would really encourage people to please, if you feel overwhelmingly sad, like I was all the time, I would sometimes hear a commercial or a song with a minor note, and I would just start crying for no reason. If you start doing that, you really should go you should see your GP, and you should see if there's something you can do or someone you can talk to.
Right.
I know it's difficult too, because a lot of us don't have health insurance. A lot of us only have health insurance that's tied to our jobs. A lot of people have been furloughed or let go of their jobs in a pandemic, so now they're not getting that health insurance they needed.
Right.
But just know that there are organizations and there are places, especially if you don't have an income and you can prove that, where you can get free or low cost counseling services, and other supports for your child. But
real quick,
go ahead.
What about, because there's those people that, okay, I'm still trying to figure out the help I need for my child, and that may be, which it should be, not that you shouldn't take care of yourself, but like, I'm still trying to figure out these things for my child. So if what if that's the case for someone, which it is for a lot of people.
Well, I think the reality is all of us.
I think it's more so about if you have the, if you're hearing this right now and you didn't think of it before, if you have one window to be able to do that, whether it's a little quick Zoom call or a phone call. I'm just saying, because things are even, less available now, and probably a lot harder now when your child is not at school. But even when they were in school, some parents are still spending their time trying to figure out the services for their kid, So it's like not F me, but it's like I'll take a bath. I know me. But don't get me wrong. I mean, not that I couldn't have a great conversation with a therapist. They probably get a kick out of me because I'm going to therapize them too. I'm going to give them therapy as well. However, but I mean, I'm just saying my baths and
Right.
my cocktails,
Right.
take a little smoke and talk. That's my little thing. I'm just saying. However, I'm just saying that's a quick little time. Most of my time is spent on me trying to be physically present for Ryder, even if I have to, do all my phone calls and my emails, but I'm still trying to be here physically present. Everyone can't do that, but they still are trying to figure out what they need to do for their child. You know what I mean? So not to
I
take it off track, but I mean, you made a great point, but it's like, yeah, but there's so many people that are trying to figure out how to do what you said they should do.
I think the reason why I bring
Especially
that up
little
is
people.
that I'm coming from a place now of experience, right? George is going to be 14 on Monday. He's going to be 14 years old.
Oh,
I
my.
know. And so I'm just saying from experience and reflection, I wish I had taken more time for myself earlier on. And so I feel like that's what I just want to impart on people that are, and thank you so much to everyone that's joining us and continuing to follow Faith in this movement. But I feel like that's what we're trying to do is like, all the mistakes I made, some of you will probably make them too, but I wish you don't have to. You don't have to make all the same mistakes I did. And you're right. It's a really difficult balance. But sometimes you just have to, maybe on the whiteboard when you're writing the schedule for your kid that day or whatever it is, I usually put something on the side and George usually asks me what it is. And it's usually a couple of things that's important I need to do for myself. And the other thing is usually a reminder just to do some self-care, whether that's literally just taking 15 minutes to watch something stupid, to sit and do nothing, to get in my car and listen to music and drive around the block. It is really difficult, but it's so important that everyone really tries to balance, because it's like I read something. There was an article in Boston University had an article about parenting special needs children, and it said that the amount of stress that parents of children with special needs take on, they've actually like looked at their brains, and it's equitable to soldiers in combat.
Yes, I did. I read that. I did. I read that. That's why when you just said that, I'm like, yeah, I read something. I agree.
And so
Agree.
you're always, and like that, trying to look at that really nice woman who said that she hasn't slept well in 16 years. And I cannot, I relate to that so much, because I'm that person who sometimes wakes up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning ruminating about my kid, the future, if I'm doing everything right. You go through guilt sometimes. Is this something that I did? But I think the important thing to take away is that if you're not healthy for your kid, then you're basically useless. And another thing is, like, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad if you haven't been doing everything in the world. You probably are doing your best. Like, don't beat yourself up.
Right.
And just try to get better. And
It's thank you for saying that, Dolly, because it's so important that I was having a conversation with someone today, and I said the best thing about each day is you get tomorrow. And tomorrow you get to try it all over again. What would life really be like if opportunity only knocked one time? So we have to be able to pause for a second and know that we did our best today and we can do even better tomorrow. And even if you thought that you didn't do what you think you should have done today, tomorrow you get to try it all over again.
Exactly.
So, Dolly, thank you for saying that, Dolly, is that, again, just like I said, is that we are not perfect. We are going
No.
to make mistakes. So thank you for
Yep.
saying that.
Yeah, and another thing, I saw a couple of comments that I thought were interesting from people, and I've absolutely experienced this
I'm
so
sure
many
it's probably the
times.
ones I've seen too. I was gonna say the same thing. You know what? Get out of my head. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dolly.
Well, there were some comments about here, I'm gonna go to the last one I wrote down.
I love
Dana
writing all
Somerville.
the comments.
Dana Somerville says she has a
I'll take
niece.
over now, Faith.
She has a niece that doesn't want to sit next to her son with cerebral palsy. And I have to tell you, I lost friends early on because I couldn't take that their parents weren't doing more to include my son. And I know that my son, again, he's going to be 14 on Monday, and he's getting a lot better at social, keeping his distance from people. But he was that kid with autism that would be in your face like this. And it would drive people nuts. And I would, my friends' children didn't always want to be around him. And it was heartbreaking. And so my advice to her would be, you got to talk to the mom. If this is your niece, number one, this is your family. So this is even a friend you can dump. I would take the time to talk to your sister about, just leading with empathy and patience and kindness and educating her a little bit on, why the child is doing that. It's not and like she was saying in her comment, she says the child does it because he's loving and he really wants to be next to people. And that's exactly how my son is. So I think it's taking the time to get over yourself a little bit and be honest and talk with people. Otherwise, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, you're so right, Dolly, because there's also so many books out there now that you can get books that will also offer some type of education for children that will help them kind of color up an understanding of many different diagnoses. So talk to that parent and also tap into some of those children resources that are out there that will also assist your niece in understanding what is up with your son as far as cerebral palsy and some of the cool things that individuals, even with cerebral palsy, can also have.
Yeah, and I think that was another thing, and thank you for bringing that up. That was another thing I was going to say, and I really hope this doesn't hurt anyone's feelings, but the reality is there aren't any cures yet for autism and for a lot of these diseases. And so you have to look at this, you have to look at the long term always. And that's another reason why it's hard to sleep at night. But
medical / pharmaceutical cures, but there are, I truly believe there are different ways of working out anything.
I think what I mean to say is, I
didn't mean to negate what you were going to say.
What I'm saying is, it doesn't mean that your child is not going to make tremendous gains in progress.
Right.
But, and, some kids get so much intervention, every child is so different. That's why, it's annoying sometimes when you meet a parent who says something ignorant to you, like, oh, my kid used to have autism. He doesn't have it anymore. Or, I knew someone who had, they grow out of it. Don't worry, he'll grow out of it. That's great. It's a great thought. But again, it doesn't mean that kids can and will improve tremendously with support. And that's, why we need to advocate so strongly at these schools to make sure that they're doing right by our children and giving them the services that they need to truly be successful and to thrive. I was going to say something else. I can't remember. It was about, I was going to say, I do believe though, and I pray about it all the time. I really believe that eventually, I'm really hoping that with stem cell research and stuff, that there will be a cure at some point, but that is no reason to bury your head in the sand and think, well, I'm not going to, argue with this, people are doing the best they can. There'll be a cure at some point. He'll be fine. No, he or she'll be fine. It really takes a lot of work to do this. And it's exhausting. And so again, and Faith, like, I know that you're tired all the time, but every once in a while, I'm sure that you're able, but I know that you have to get support to take a moment for yourself. But I know it's hard. And I know that you've had to cancel things before because maybe Ryder's not having
every
a good
week.
day. Yeah.
Depending on, but that's more so because I would rather be here than not.
Yeah.
Like, even with work, I mean, thank you, Jesus. I mean, and this is, people are like, oh, good for you. But I'm just saying, I've turned down money plenty of times.
Absolutely.
Because I'm like, I gotta be here. I'd rather be here, and I feel like my blessings are gonna come.
Yeah.
He's gonna hook me up later on the back end. You know what I mean? Because I feel that way. But it's not that there may be some people that feel that same way, but are just not able to do that. They gotta be gone, and you can't always depend on and have someone to depend on. And I'm sorry, Dolly, but we're running over time.
Sure.
And you always have so much information, but I want you to share it on these questions because I saw so many great ones.
Because I wrote a lot of them down.
I bet you did. I'm sure you did. You always do. So which ones did you write down? Because I'm seeing that I like. Oh, let me say this one. Shout out to Yvonne Berry on YouTube. That's one you wrote down? She said, I found myself explaining the difference between a meltdown versus a tantrum. Partly, maybe because family members just thought my son was acting up. Meanwhile, it was all his stimulation.
Right.
Back to that. Because that was a part of what I was kind of saying earlier. Would they think this? And even if you try and explain it, but it's like if you're not really living it like that,
they don't get it.
It's not, you can't, it's a little hard to get it.
But Yvonne, you did exactly the right thing, because if you're not educating your family on the reasons why it's happening, they're
sometimes they don't get it.
Absolutely. I'll just be really honest. I don't really have a great relationship with my husband's side of the family. They've been straight up. They've been incredibly ignorant. When they found out that my son had intellectual disabilities and a variety of other issues, they weren't supportive to us when we went to go visit them. I was really sad to see there wasn't one picture of my child. And believe me, I sent them so many pictures of my child framed and everything. There was not one picture of our son in their home. And that was just reflective of, I don't call it bigotry,
ignorance to the situation, a little bit of, yeah, right. For lack of a better word.
I just, they
just can't quite see the situation.
And sometimes they don't want to. They don't want to see it.
And Malika, you hit the nail on the head. Sometimes they don't want to. Maybe she's grieving in her own way because it's her only grandkid, right? And she was expecting this, whatever she was expecting, and it's not working out like that.
It's to me, 14 years later. It's 14 years later, Dolly.
Oh,
exactly. But the last thing I'll say about that, though, is sometimes you got to be the bigger person. And so we are starting to have a better relationship because I kill her with kindness. I still send her pictures. I'll text her every once in a while, like, hey, just want you to know we're doing good. George is starting to read a little bit, or he's doing this. And every once in a while, she'll say thank you for the update. Sometimes you're not going to have great relationships with your family members, but you got to try. And then as the years go by, especially, there's nothing wrong with being the bigger person.
And honestly, Dolly, a lot of times, whether you have a child with a different ability or not, sometimes your family is really your close friends, the individuals that see you every day. And even though we may want our grandmothers and our aunts and uncles to be more involved in our lives as a whole, sometimes people just are not. And if things take work, a lot of people are a little more apprehensive to that. And I think what I have found with some families is that's what they say. It takes work. And if they're not available to do that work on an ongoing basis, they sometimes feel like they're not successful. And then in return, the relationship with the child or the individual with a different ability is now a little strange because there takes a little work in order to establish that relationship. And people like easy relationships. They like, oh, to be able to buy a popsicle and then the kid is like, yay! But now this kid has to do a little work and talk to this child and really try to put effort in communicating. And some people just really don't want to put in the work.
I mean, I agree, but I want to come in and say, just, but people would deal with somebody that's back over, you know what I mean? Like, hello.
Right.
Knock, knock. Like, come on.
Right.
Hello. I mean, that's not to judge the family member, because as parents, we are there. That's our.
You love your kids, right?
Yeah. I'm just saying, now that we're talking about the family units and supports, it's like, okay, well, they think he's going to kill me, but you got, all right.
Right.
Let me shut up. Let me shut up. Anyway, I have 4 comments. Hey, Dolly. Hey, everybody. There's 4 comments and questions on here that I really want to go to back, like, Arisa Nikki Leverett, she's been on here. She's on Facebook. She said, I learned to work around my son's schedule, because I was going to say something about that too. You have to. This will definitely eliminate a lot of stress. Can't stress over things you can't totally control. Some people say they couldn't be me. Exactly. You are not me. He's my son, and I will grind hard. Yes, girl. I will grind hard for him. What? It's really real in the film. I'm saying, I totally agree. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the attitude. And I'm sure it's hard for everybody. But that's the whole stance. Even if you don't have the means, the tax bracket to support all the greatest things you want, but that whole mind state, that whole approach and attitude is what it's all about.
That's what
this
it's about.
This is true,
right there.
Because even with people that even know Ryder's disability, and I think somewhat understand it, think, oh, well, he's supposed to just do this because this, this is how it. But you still want to have an understanding of all those things other things that the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit. I know the whole song, y'all. I know the Beatitudes now. But you got, you just got to be kind and patient, but especially with someone with special needs. Right. And I guess, that takes a special person to understand it, whether you're their parent or not. You can't just expect, eventually you want your child to be able to function in the, in the real world in terms of, hey, how everybody else is doing it. But that's why they have special needs. And you have to provide those needs for them in order for them to be able to even fulfill somewhat, if not all of those expectations in the real world. That's how I feel about it. Yeah. You can't just say, oh, no, you got to act like this. Well, how about you acting like this for them? Right. Because they don't understand. How about you being more patient and explaining more to them? Right. Yeah, that's what it's about. Absolutely. While at the same time trying to expose them to the other things in an inclusive world. But you still have to deal with this person one-on-one, like you understand them one-on-one. Right. I don't care if we are at a bigger place. Sometimes we have to pull Ryder to the side. Hey, let me talk. We're going to sit in the car for a little while now. Yeah. Come on, you need a break? You know what I'm saying? Whatever that might look like for you, but you know what I'm saying? You can't just look at it like that and just push them. Oh, they need to do this without you being there to support them. Right. And that support looks like understanding. It looks like patience. Yes. It looks like conversation. Yes. Whether they can spit it back to you or not, but you got to take that. Yeah. You got to do that. Yeah. Okay, I talked too much. Sorry.
No. Okay. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what I think those are the conversations that are helping individuals to understand that they are not alone and that these resources are available.
But that someone
this is a part of it right here.
I know with Ryder in many situations, that's been when he's had his blow-ups. If he knows like, oh, you trying to play me. He can't say that to you. Right. But you talking to me like I'm two. Right. And I done showed you that I'm way smarter than that. Yeah. But because I'm not verbalizing every word you want me to, or
Mhm.
because I'm gonna sit over here when you trying to make me do something that is not I don't want to do.
Right.
Instead of talking to me the right,
Right.
that
Right.
hey, listen,
Right.
I understand that about him.
Talk
Some people
about it.
that understand him and take the time to understand that know that about him, but
But
that's
come
not
on.
just the everyman
human
way of looking
nature.
at right. But they don't always
Yeah.
look at
Yeah.
the children with special needs in that way.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
that's why we're doing this, so that people will start to lead more with empathy and patience, especially when our kids are out in the community and having a hard time.
CJ James, yes, there is hope for adults with autism. Absolutely.
He said-
There are programs, there are spaces that
Wait,
allow support.
CJ has something else to say too. He
Yes.
said special ed schools won't even do anything good for kids with special needs because most parents would never understand their kids, so they would listen to anything the school said. And some people look at kids with autism like they're crazy and like they deserve to be locked in the crazy house. And he said, Faith, you used to love me, is one of my favorite Faith joints. But thank you for that. But I'm going to go back to this special needs point that you made. But thank you. Thank you for tuning in. If that's what made you tune in, CJ, but you seem to have some knowledge about what this thing is all about.
Well,
Hey.
CJ, I think you tapped into something that is really important when
We
you
talked
talk
about
about
that too.
those special ed schools and how parents they don't know what to believe. So a lot of times you have to rely on the information that you get from professionals and the teachers and things of that nature. So you're absolutely correct. I think what's most important though, one of the key things you said most parents would never understand their kids, so they would listen to anything the school said. Now, I want to play with that a little bit. I don't think that parents will never understand. What I think is happening is that if there was an opportunity for certain things to be broken down for parents, parents would better understand the process of what it takes in order to teach a child with a different ability, because being in a school setting is very different.
That's what I was
from
gonna
being
say.
in a home
As
setting.
a parent, I would say
Yes.
that school thing is different.
It's
So
just
maybe he's
very
speaking just
different.
from that school setting aspect, because you might be at work. Your kid is at school. So
Yeah.
of course that person or that teacher or that therapist,
Knows a
spends
little
those
bit.
hours of
Yeah.
the day with your
Yeah.
child doing things that you obviously are not doing at those hours of the day with your child.
Right. Because you may
However-
not even have the tools, or that is not there's no family necessarily that's operating like the school, whether your child has a different ability or not.
Okay, before we go to our next guest, I saw another one. She said, Samira, my family is all over here. What's up, Brick City? Yes, what? What's up, Samira? She said, at my job, we offer so many services and parents aren't taking advantage of them. We'll set up sessions. I don't know where she works. Some parents have to make time to, she said they have to make time to tend to their child's needs. That's very true. Just like when you get your nails done, girl, you go to your hair appointment. I mean, that should be more important than all of that. But, I'm not sure where you work, because I know that, some places set up services that I don't want to go there for my services. So
Right.
I can't speak to that specifically because I don't know where she's talking about. But if those are parents that need it and that's their way of getting it, they should certainly make that time. But if I have a choice of, hey, I'm going to go to sit in here, or I can go and sit in here with 20 people, I'm going to go in here and ask my homegirl who I know knows it. Everybody don't realize, don't even have that sometimes. But you might and don't, But either way, you should want to know. That's the whole point. You need to want to get all the information you can about whatever you can if you're in the situation where you're trying to figure it out.
Right.
With a child with special needs, whether it's to get where can I get funding for this? Where can he go for that? Where can she do this?
Right.
And how do I da-da-da? I mean,
well, I think what's key too, when you talk about services that are available, is how easy are they accessible? Because a lot of times we'll have a list of different agencies and different programs that are available, but it may be a strenuous process to even be a part of that program or for your child to even get services. And even when they say that these services are available, sometimes there's waiting lists. Sometimes there is paperwork that needs to be, or sometimes there's a processing period that your child maybe doesn't have the time to give up. So we have to take a lot of those into consideration because there are an abundance of services out there for young people. However, we have to make sure that we make those services easily accessible for parents and families to be able to offer that to their child or their family member.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely. And I'll just interject. The last thing I'd like to say about that too is that is it Samira or Aaliyah?
That's both
no,
of her.
I would reach,
She's both of them. That's both of her.
if you see a parent or you know of a parent that would normally get services at your agency or wherever it is you're working, and you see that they're suddenly not taking advantage, there could be language barriers. Number one, maybe they don't know. Another thing is they could be a little burned out. I have to be honest.
Heck yeah.
You know, I fought so hard for every service in the world for George that every once in a while, we started having cancellations with certain things because, hey, we already did OT 3 times this week. We don't need I'm done. Or honestly, we had behavioral therapy in our home 5 days a week from the time he was 2.5 until 9. And once he was 9, it got to a point where I was just getting burned out. First of all, I live in a very small house, very tiny. And, to have people in the living room with me, sitting there watching me do homework with him started to drive me nuts. And so it's not even just services. It's also, you got to think about the quality of services. If the agency isn't providing quality service, and what I mean by that is if you're getting behavioral support, let's say, you really need a behaviorist to come in after school, or now that we're in a pandemic, you need them to come. You need the school to send someone out to come during the day. That person should really, that person really should be taking over for the parent, though. They really should be taking over. Now, of course, they will say, this is a service to empower the parent, educate the parent. Absolutely, of course. But when it comes to things like non-preferred activities, like the kid refuses to do their work, refuses to learn. And that's really like the most challenging part of all this, right? Is trying to get a lot of these kids who have intellectual challenges literate. That's when you really need that behaviorist who isn't going to force the parent to sit there and do that, is going to come in and help them out, and then take the time at the end of the session to explain to the parent what they did and give the parent some homework. But I know so many parents who have been miserable with their in-home behavioral support services because they, again, will always say things like, and this is how you can get around it. They will say things like, we don't do homework, or that's not our job. Or they'll say, okay, but my kid melts down and bites his hand and throws things when it's time to do homework. So I really need for us to work on this. So anyway, quality of service is important. But Samira, if you notice a parent that was once coming all the time, I would reach out to them and make sure they're doing okay.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we're only a few minutes over, so I let y'all talk. But I think that, as we bring on our next guest, we can build on the conversation as well. There were so many things on here I wanted to get back to, but I'm like, girl, that's true. I'll just let you talk. I'm so blessed to actually have connection with so many different people that, even whether I know it or not, that they can be resources.
Yeah.
God has put them in my life, for different reasons, even if they family, friends, But our next guest panelist is actually my cousin, Christian Owens, and she has a lot of little, letters after her name, LCSW-CRPT-CPT-C. She is the owner and lead therapist at Resilient Child Therapy Institute, located in Largo, Maryland. As a licensed clinical social worker, Christian is credentialed as a registered play therapist, a certified trauma practitioner, a certified yoga teacher, and a Reiki master. Hello. Her professional expertise is in providing psychotherapy and holistic services to children and families dealing with issues related to trauma, grief, and loss, and mood disorders. Christian has worked with children and families in a variety of settings, including psychiatric, inpatient care, school based settings, and community mental health. Given her expertise, she was invited by First Lady Michelle Obama to participate in her annual Beating the Odds Summit in 2016 as a workshop facilitator. She's passionate about the mental health needs and well being of youth, especially within communities of color. She considers it a valuable privilege to serve as a witness and partner in a young person's healing process. Please welcome to our symposium, Christian Owens. Hey, Christian.
Hi, Christian.
Hey, I don't see she. Okay, there
can
she
you
is.
You can hear me?
Hi, thank you for joining us.
Hello, how are you?
Definitely. I'm doing pretty good. It's close to 10 o'clock here. So
Oh my. Thank you for staying on. I know it's your baby's probably like, where's my mama?
No. That's the point that I'm trying to make here is that I am a mom and I'm also a clinician and I work with families all the time. And, this is life. Like, this is what it is. And when you have a child with special needs, this is what it's like. I mean, you roll with things. You roll with things. So I want to just hop into the discussion because so many great points were made. I took my notes and I want to chime in on some of the great points that were already made. So someone had asked, how do you define, what is there hope for a child that is on the autism spectrum? And my question for that person and maybe for all the listeners is, how do you define hope? Like, what does that actually mean? I'm a psychotherapist, so this is the way that I process things with my parents and families that I work with. But what does hope mean? What does that mean for your family, for your child? And so with that being said, I think it's so important to have realistic expectations. And that comes with that self-reflection around, like, what does life look like for us? What does it look like when we go on vacation? What does it look like when we go to the grocery store? What does homework time look like? Because that's different for different families. And we have to have realistic expectations. So my response to that is, how do you define hope in terms of, your family dynamic? Right. The other thing I wanted to also chime in on is, it's a heavy thing and it's a lot. Being a parent is a lot, but then you add on special needs. And so I like to always tell families to, add some humor into this.
Yeah.
Keep
a sense of humor.
Yes, keep it light because this stuff is so heavy and it's hard and we're doing it during a pandemic. And so sometimes we just have to laugh at some things. I've worked with a young man who he is on the autism spectrum, and one of the symptoms that he experiences is echolalia. So he repeats things that he hears, whether it's on television or he hears someone at home, say things, and he would repeat things that were sometimes just hilarious. And the mom went on her way. She's a single parent mom, and she was like, you know what? At the end of the day, all I can do is laugh. Like, that's literally
that's right.
Laughter is the best medicine. So I think that sometimes that's just what we have to do. That's what we have to do.
Christian, I'm gonna tell you one thing. I know a person that will make you laugh all day, and that's Dolly's son, George. That is a kid that will laugh all day. So when you talk about laughing, he definitely has created a therapeutic approach on laughing. So thank you for reminding everybody of that. I think so often parents get so caught up in walking the fight and really going after what they know is best for their child that they're forgetting to laugh, forgetting the humor in life, and really keeping that childlike faith to really have a happy spirit and to trust the next process. So just thank you for that reminder, Christian, because laughing is so therapeutic. Thank you for that.
It is. And I think I with having
I have a 2-year-old, and
Oh, wait.
yeah, it's a blast, and that's why I said
Oh,
she's
yeah.
sleeping. During the pandemic, and I'm working from home, and so it is a blast. But I have to just laugh things. I have to laugh things off. Sometimes she may pop into one of my therapy sessions, and it allows me to be human as a professional. Because, and
Yeah.
I think that's the key piece, is that we have to remember that we're having a human experience. Like, this is a human experience. These children are humans. And so that child, connecting to that family member, connecting with them instead of just seeing them for their diagnosis. And so one of the ways that I work with families is that I like to, I add a relational component to this work, because it is hard. By the time parents come to me, they are at their wits' end. They've done everything that they could. They've Googled everything that they can, and they're exhausted. And so a huge piece, I feel, for the treatment process needs to include a family component, because I'm only working with the child for only 45 minutes to an hour a week, but that parent is with that child for a longer period of time. And so it's so important to connect with the family. It's so important to check in on the family, and not just parents and caregivers, but I'm also talking about siblings, because the attention isn't on them. It's on the child with the special need. And so we need to check in on the siblings. We need to check in on other extended family members that might be living in the home and helping with, the caregiving of that child. But remember that the children are humans. They're humans, and so with that being said, they're humans first, and children. And they're children, and play is healing. It's so healing, and we forget to do that as grown-ups. And so I having a 2-year-old working with children allows me to remember the culture of childhood, because it's still they're still children, and they're human. So I definitely wanted just to throw that bone in.
That part is so important, because in any, I mean, like, it's lots of kids have different behaviors, and some of them might lead, like we always teach Ryder, because he elopes sometimes, and when he used to do it more often, like, we like, what are people gonna get? He goes scared, like, don't do that, they'll get, it's like a lot of things, it just, and it takes a lot of repetition, reminding in terms of with you and that child. I know with us, we have to coach him. Okay, we're going in the store. You're going to do what? You're going to have what kind of ears? Listening ears? What kind of feet? Walking feet? You know what I mean? It's like, so that's kind of all. It's hard to kind of have that when there's so much going on in your life. But with regard to that one person, that child who we tend to, or not we, but people tend to, just in the fact that they may not be as active or as verbal or as, able as the typical person, It's like we tend to kind of not take that time. It takes a whole lot though, but it's just, these are just little reminders and jewels, I just wanted to add my 2 cents, because it was so many things on here, and I had to take time to go look at all the comments. But I'm like, let me let them talk, because the conversation is great.
That's really important, though, Faith. I think it's kind of like when we talk about the I want to say person first language. When we talk about person first language, we want to make sure that when we're identifying these children, that we're not calling them autistic children or putting a label on that child. It's really to say a child with, I say
my son is on the spectrum.
Well, you can also, they like to take it a little bit further and say, this is a young person with a diagnosis of autism. So it's really not giving ownership to the diagnosis. It's really saying that this is a human first. That's that first language that you were speaking of, saying that we want to identify this person as a human first, and then we're going to identify the diagnosis that was presented on this child or this individual.
That's right.
So thank you for bringing that back up. I think that's I was having that conversation with someone yesterday, because so many people have gotten so used to just saying, my autistic son or or my disabled child, and that's not really how you identify that child. So thank you so much, Christian, for even bringing
Absolutely.
that up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that being said, because it can be hard, I think it's so important to also recognize all progress. And so if that means making a scrapbook, keeping a log, blogging. I have some parents that have started blogs, and sometimes it's what you have to do because the days can be hard. It can be very easy to notice the progress, you know.
Right.
And so progress can be the fact that that meltdown was not as intense as it used to be. Maybe it didn't include any, you know, oppressive behaviors, or, you know, maybe it wasn't as long in duration as it previously was. And so I know with parents, and they're like, oh my God, they're still having these tantrums, these meltdowns. And I'm like, but was it as long as it was? Was it
Talk about it.
aggressive? Was it, you know, because all progress is progress, and it's so important to keep that in mind, especially during the pandemic where we're just sort of going through the day and it's just monotonous and, you know, all of that. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we're dealing with young people that are energy driven, you know, they pick up on our energy if we're worried, or if we may be apprehensive about things, or if we see that changes are taking place in the world. We have to understand that they're going to pick up on that, and we can't expect them to say, okay, sit down and do your homework, and the president is changing and everybody's uptight. So we definitely want to be able to acknowledge that, and understanding that they're human first. And thank you so much for bringing that up, because that is a very, very key factor. Because I think too many times we have families, we have professionals, we have people that marry the diagnosis and forget the human. So we have to look at the whole person. We don't look at the label that has been presented.
Let me go to some of these comments real quick, because I thought we were going to be not having enough. Having too much time, but actually we don't have enough time. Sharana Ford, I need to contact her. I'm in DC. That's the whole point. You know, I try and keep that in mind. You know, if you guys are in the area of one of our panelists, you know, I think we try and update our info on Writers Room Inc. And, you know, I'll allow everyone to give you their contact info. But if they are someone that you feel, you know, that could be helpful or answer a question for you, you know what I mean? Please feel free to reach out to them. I always ask them beforehand, is it okay to tell people to, you know, I know Malika has answered questions for people that we haven't got to discuss on our stream. Dr. Behave, hey, Sharana Ford. It's a lot of people on here that have been on here that I appreciate for coming back. Pee Wee said, hey, cousin, Christian. Shannon Michelle Morris, she's on Facebook. She said, what about Black and poor communities and reaching out to struggling leaders that have clients that may need help while in our shelter? I love this, but what's the answer? I'm not quite, you know, sure how to translate that. I know what she means about the community. She said struggling, meaning the people that have like you guys that may be struggling. Okay, got it. Okay.
Well,
So
you can definitely go. You can definitely go to malikassociates.com. I do offer professional consultation and training that will offer support with individuals that are providing this level of support, just like myself, and also providing support to families, and just being able to collaborate with individuals to share, because we have plenty to share and plenty to spare. So if there's information that I can share that can support the community in which you service, please go ahead and contact me. And you can even tap into Writers Room Inc. and throw your questions in there, and we'll be able to also tap in and answer those questions.
Author Malik Landsberg said on Facebook, provide structure and safety, be consistent, stick to a schedule, reward good behavior. Wait, where did that go? Reward good behavior. Create a home safety zone. Look for nonverbal cues if your child is, right. This sounds like someone who knows it a little bit. Figure out the motivation behind the tantrum. Make time for fun. Pay attention to your child's sensory sensitivities. And, again, sometimes there are parents who are still trying to figure out what the heck is really,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they have, maybe they have someone that told them or gave them a diagnosis, but they still don't
Mm-hmm.
quite, which we have tried to, there's always that, because I was that person,
Right.
for
Right.
like, I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm gonna just do this, I'm gonna do that. And but a lot of those points were so good. Like, you have to provide the structure, like, when he said the
Mm-hmm.
scheduling, and then someone else do this. Like, we do that because that works for Ryder. It may
Mm-hmm.
not work for every child. Some kids may just be able to, hey, we're gonna do this now. But Ryder for a long time has been very good with being diligent to a visual schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You write it down, and we're gonna point it out, and this is
Mm-hmm.
what we got to do. And over time, it was like, hey, what do we do first? What are we gonna do now? But
Yeah. Yeah.
that is a part of it. Structure, schedule. Sometimes it needs to be visual.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Thank you, Malik.
And I want to
Uh,
tap into because we're always talking about helping everybody understand. And Kristen and Dolly, if you guys want to chime in here, I wanted to tap in a little bit on those sensory sensitivities, because as a family, when you come together with a family, a lot of times if we have those sensory backpacks and diets in place, it also supports us in our family gatherings and going to family functions and being with family. Because when you know that your child may need a
or choosing
squeeze
not to.
toy
Let me say that.
or something to bite on, or your child needs to maybe possibly wear a tighter shirt that day, or your child may need to take a break having a walk when there's a family gathering. Maybe you may have a trampoline in your house for your child. Maybe there's bean bags. Maybe there's slime. There's certain things when we talk
A
about
weighted blanket,
sensory. How do
right.
we get in
Weighted
touch with those
blankets and
weighted
things as such,
blankets?
right.
How do we get in touch with those sensory needs? So all you parents that are
If that's the need.
constantly asking, like, what are those sensory needs? A lot of times, more times than none, children
They
on the
just want you to
autism
squeeze
spectrum,
them real hard.
they have sensory needs. We have the typical individual has sensory needs, guys. I prefer to sit in the corners of couches because it's more comfortable to me. Why? Because I like to be snug. So when we have all these needs, we have to know that what our needs are for our children. If our child would benefit best from having like Faith mentioned, a weighted blanket, or if our child would benefit from having a hat on because the sun is too sensitive for their
Headphones.
eyes, if
The
a child needs
headphones.
headphones because of sounds, these are a part of the sensory needs that keeps coming up as far as what those needs are for your child. And guys, please chime in. I want to
But
be
back to
able
the
to
family, the topic, if that, hey, listen, this what it is, this what it is. You got to be the one to kind of
share with the family.
delegate
Yeah.
that and stand
Yes.
firm on what it is, whether that's,
Yes.
hey, understand it or not, but this what it is. And
Mhm.
you said something about gatherings. It's like, I don't think you should, don't avoid it because of that. Like, make them fall in place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or
right.
we can't come. You feel me?
Right.
Or we gonna leave.
We're gonna stay.
Honestly, I used
People
to
know
do
y'all
that a
came to
lot.
say hi. Hey, boo. Bye,
Absolutely.
girl. Bye,
Yep.
Felicia.
Right.
No, I was just going to say that I've. Oh no, Christian, please go ahead. Please.
Oh,
No.
I have a colleague that's tuning in. She's in the DC area. She's the owner of Urban Playology in DC, and she mentioned something that is also important to be aware of, and also something that I remember with Ryder and his siblings is that siblings want to be able to help and have service roles, and they want to be able to support their siblings. And there may be a time where the parents may not be available and siblings may need to step in. And I remember seeing my older cousins helping Ryder, and like that warmed my heart because that might need to happen. Things happen. And so that's once again going back to those realistic expectations of a family, because sometimes a parent may not always be available. A parent may need to, during the pandemic, work outside the home. And so you have siblings that are in the home by themselves together. So there's even special circumstances within special needs families that, are important to be aware of too.
Yes.
But they may not know. Okay, if there aren't the sibling, if it isn't the sibling structure,
Mm-hmm.
that's great to have. And I thank God for my kids when they were still at home. They're
Mhm.
all adults and kind of living outside of here. But when they were here, they were all very helpful,
They were.
and when they moved, Ryder had to go through a whole
Oh,
transition.
he
Like,
sure
oh,
did.
but thank God for them because they,
Yeah.
they were here before he was born. So they understood it a little more, even more so than the grown-ups
Uh-huh.
in our world, that weren't necessarily right here directly in Ryder's world. So shout out to China, CJ, and Josh. See, Christian just said she was very impressed by how we got. Hey,
I love
um,
y'all.
hey, Von Boozers. Oh wow, I was gonna make a point, but I forgot about the peoples. How much time we got? Okay, we got a little time. Cambria, da, 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 da. Cambria Anthony, she's on Facebook. She says she's thankful for this discussion. She's a current vacancy substitute teacher for a middle school autism class.
Mm.
She wants to know any resources she can forward to parents. And she's the founder of a nonprofit family center and would love to list any of us as a resource. Oh, hey, Shanice. She said Shanice refer her. My friend Shanice. Hey, Shanice. Um, I'm
Oh,
sure there are plenty. I don't know where you are, Cambria,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
I know
Absolutely.
we've kind of discussed, and actually, I know we probably just listed some of the resources from the last episode, but whether that's one that you need or not. But we try to talk about different places. But
Right.
whatever state you're in, I think there's always the D.
Oh no, DDS, which
Right.
is your
There you go.
Department of Developmental Services.
Right.
You can definitely get a list there. You can also tap into some of our previous episodes, and you can chime in. It looks like Christian has an agency. I also offer a service, MalikaAssociates.com. You can chime in to see what are some of the cool things, resources that are on that website. Also, you can also go into Instagram, which is the Daily Autism Whisperer, and that's also Malika and Associates LLC. There's many things that's always placed on that page that will support individuals with resources and different programs and things that are available. Now, if you're in a particular state, of course, you do have to chime into like DDS or your social services department. However, there are some cool resources out there.
And we actually have been, since we've been doing these symposiums and excuse me, more people from different regions that are professionals or, in the field or parents or whatever that have different connections. We kind of thought that it would be great to try and hone in regionally because
Right.
there are different things available or not available in different areas, but there are different ways to probably still access the resources no matter where you are. It's just about figuring it out. So not that I can figure it out for you personally all the time, but it's just about trying to help people figure it out. So we're going to do something even beyond this symposium series. I know, Kristen, you said that, oh my gosh, Shanice, I hate you. Hey, Shanice. You said that there were some other things you were doing as well. Like you wanted to mention, yeah. Tell us about
Yeah, so you can find more information on my website, resilientchildtherapy.com. I'm based out of Maryland, in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, and I'm licensed in Maryland as well as in Virginia. But we offer workshops that anyone can attend all over the world as long as you have internet access. So we actually have, due to the pandemic and hearing and listening to the parents and families that I work with, I just recently hired a parent self-care coach because parents need love too. And so we have a workshop coming up, a virtual workshop series for parents. It's specific to self-care and for parents that have children that have special needs, whether it's emotional, behavioral, developmental, all of that. And so we're supporting parents for 6 weeks on Saturday mornings. And so check out my website. There's information about that. And then a colleague of mine are going to be doing a social skills group, a dating and social skills group for teenagers that are on the autism spectrum. So these life skills are
Yay!
so important. So I
I
like
want the girlfriend right now. We're going through that.
I look at the human, I look at mind, body, spirit, because, at the end of the day, these children are going to be in society as adults with my baby.
They're humans.
That's just real. So, and so I want to make sure that everybody is equipped. And so dating is a part of life. And, people on the autism spectrum date too, and they deserve to date and to enjoy their life. And so we plan on having that. And so please join my emailing list. You can join that on my website so you can stay up to date on all of our groups and our self-care group, which begins in March. It's going to be amazing. And you can attend, you can be anywhere in the world as long as you're okay getting up in the morning. And just making sure you understand just the time zone difference, but it's going to be the bomb.
I would love to chat with you about how we can bridge definitely a California platform for dating. I have some ideas. I would love to chat with you about. There's some cool things that that is one of the biggest things that I take interest in as well, because these young people go there. We cannot control maturation. And they're going to grow up.
That's
and
right.
We definitely want to be able to support them. I have so many fun stories I can't wait to share with you. But I definitely would love to be able to see how we can create a connection to offer that level of support nationwide. Let's go globally with this, because it is definitely an area that people forget about. And, I've had to help many young people as adults to be able to feel good in certain ways, that they get the supports that they need to create those meaningful relationships. And it's not just about the relationships with their parents. So thank you for doing that. I'm excited to hear all about it. I'm definitely going to chime in.
Thank you. It should be a fun time. It should.
Yeah. Okay. I'd love to be a fly on the wall. Before we sum it up, I want to go back to a couple of the Xanthia. I think that's your name, Johnson. She says, Xanthia Johnson, owner of Urban Playology in DC. Siblings can have service roles in the family. Many young people love being of service to their sibling with special needs, which is true. Mm-hmm. That's very true. Thank you for chiming in. She said, in addition, the siblings also get to practice supporting their sibling with special needs. There may be a day when they are the only caregivers or advocates that their sibling has. Yep. Like, I think that was an older comment, but shout out again to my Ryder siblings, my older kids, who were definitely very, very helpful. Wow. I want to keep talking, but people are like, they're gonna get mad and they're gonna chime off. So before I tune out and give my shout outs, I'd like for you guys once again to let everybody know, because there are people on here. Okay, Dr. Zoe said, Christian, bravo. Parents don't miss out. She said, bravo for what you're doing. Shout out to Dr. Zoe, who has been on here a lot. The Von Bouger twins. I see, Donnell, Anthony. Oh my God, it's so many people that, aren't even parents. Maybe they have but I see a lot of my faithfuls who just are tuning in and carrying back the info to their friends or family members. So I thank you guys for all tuning in. Thank you to all our past panelists, and especially thank you guys tonight, Christian, Dolly. We'll probably speak tomorrow, Dolly, because you're gonna tell me what I need to do and write on my IP, and then Maria's gonna say what I need to put in this part. But Christian, thank you so much. And I mean, because you haven't been on here before, and I'm like, wait a minute, let me call my cousin.
Okay.
She does this.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I know you have your little baby girl and your husband. So thank you for loaning us your time. And, tell everybody, because like I saw on the thing, there's a lot of people in the DMV area, who need resources as well. And if you
I'm interested in
Right.
definitely this
Hello.
Zoom dating thing. Is there a way that we
One
can
more
put up
time,
Christian's site?
where can we get all this info
Yeah,
from you?
sure. So visit my website, resilientchildtherapy.com. There is an email list pop up, so I would, if recommend joining the email list so you can stay up to date for when that comes out. We've been doing a lot of group stuff, virtual group stuff, just to be able to reach families because people are at home, and so it's allowed us to just be creative in creating services. And I'm like, that's still a need. Like, children are on social media and they date and they're finding the next boo on social media. We
Right.
gotta teach them how to use
Right. It's a different world.
it. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Well, y'all see her website up there. Dolly. I mean, I think people hit you, but you may not want them in your DMs. So if you want
No,
to, not
it doesn't let me do it here, but you're more than welcome to email me to my personal email address. It's DLAS. Thank you. There it is. Delashide, that's my maiden name. Delashide@gmail.com. Please. I'm one of those
spell it, boo.
I will
You gotta
I
spell
will
the side.
absolutely get back to you. It's what I like to do to give back. There's been so many people who've helped me for free in my life, who've helped me write letters, who've gone to IEPs with me. So if you have a question or you need help writing a letter or what to do in a certain situation, please feel free. I will absolutely get back to you.
Dolly, you left off at DLAS. So spell it
Oh,
out.
I stopped saying it because I saw that it popped up there. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't see it. Excuse me. All right, it's on the screen. It's on the
want me to
screen.
say it?
I didn't see it. I'm like, what? Okay, everybody, you see it there.
It's
And Malika, once again, tell them.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. And you can always email me at Malika and Associates at gmail.com. We can always have a chat about any type of possibility. If you need ideas of different things to do with your children, especially now during the pandemic, if you have different thoughts of how you can create community inclusive fun for your child, please go ahead and chime in. I am right here and readily available. And thank you so much for creating possibilities with your family.
And I want to just once again remind everybody that this is just the beginning. I just am so grateful for everyone that has gotten any bit of information, inspiration from, these few episodes we've done. Everyone that has joined us, every guest, every panelist, every musical guest. And there's so much more to come. We just still trying to figure it out. My whole point again for creating Ryder's Room was to try and provide information and resources and whatever I can to help people that just like me just are figuring it out, and that's what it's all about. I just want to, before we go, shout out a few people. Our sponsors tonight, Mario Mange and Advanced Cleaning Solutions. Malika, my co-host, of course, Dolly, Christian, Kiera Shear, Lark Adams, Loyal, AJ Alexis, Big Girl, Stevie J, who's absent, but he sent Preach to play for him. Preach Balfour. Jayla, Big Girl, Siobhan, who's riding Ryder around while we doing this. And all my family, all my friends, all my faithfuls. Christian, thank you so much. And again, Dr. Behave, because she's been such a great resource and informational well, even when she's not on the episode. So shout out to Dr. Behave for constantly answering questions for people and sponsoring the families. We'll be back next week. I know we over time. It's all good. Ain't nobody telling us to shut up though. I know. Okay, we can stay as long as I thought he's like, shut it up. Like, can't nobody tell us to shut up. As we close, I would like to pray because I did not do that in our opening. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Thank you, whoever anyone's higher being that they look up to. I just thank my God for another day, for the health, the life, the strength, and the mind to just think about using my platform to do as
Hi,
such. Hey,
Ryder.
say hi, Ryder.
Hi, Ryder.
Yes, Ryder. And thank you, God, for everyone that has joined us. Thank you, God, for anyone that has been touched. And I do pray that we all are just staying safe, staying covered, and you keep teaching us the way to be, because there's so many ways. And just keep us just learning and being open to learning every day. And thank you, God, once again for just allowing us to do this. In Jesus' name, amen. Y'all have a good night. Y'all be safe
Amen.
and keep washing your hands and keep your mask on. And
Nice meeting you, Christian.
don't
Thank
do
you.
things that we wouldn't do. Or maybe we would, but be safe about it. Amen.
Bye, you guys.